one of the most powerful natural remedies ever studied by modern science, costs less than a few cents per day, has been used by physicians and healers across Asia, the Middle East, and Europe for more than 2,000 years. And research being published right now in peer-reviewed medical journals is confirming, in molecular detail, exactly why it works. What if I told you this medicine isn't in a pharmacy, it's sitting in your spice cabinet right now? 2 cloves. That's all. 2 small dried flower buds, roughly the size of a nail, taken daily. And what happens inside the body of a person over 60 who does this consistently is frankly remarkable. Here's a number that puts this in context. The active compound in cloves, a molecule called eugenol, has been examined in over 1,300 peer-reviewed scientific studies looking at its effects on inflammation, blood sugar, microbial infection, liver function, cardiovascular health, and neurological protection. 1,300 studies for a spice that's been sitting in your kitchen the entire time. In Japan, where traditional plant-based medicine has been integrated with modern clinical practice for centuries in a system called Kampo, cloves have been a documented therapeutic agent for conditions ranging from digestive dysfunction to pain management to metabolic disease. What traditional practitioners understood empirically over generations, modern biochemistry is now explaining with precision. And here is why this becomes especially urgent after the age of 60. After 60, the body undergoes a cascade of changes that make it specifically vulnerable to the conditions that cloves most powerfully address. Systemic inflammation rises measurably with age, a phenomenon researchers call inflammaging. And it is an underlying driver of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, arthritis, and many cancers. Digestive enzyme production declines. Blood sugar regulation becomes less efficient as insulin sensitivity decreases. The liver's detoxification capacity slows. The immune system, once aggressive and precise, becomes both less responsive to new threats and more prone to the chronic low-level activation that quietly damages tissue over decades. 2 cloves a day do not reverse aging. Nothing does. But the research shows they consistently and measurably address this precise constellation of age-related changes, with a specificity that makes them one of the most relevant nutritional tools available to adults over 60. My name is Dr. Zahir. I am an integrative medicine physician specializing in nutritional biochemistry and healthy aging. Today I'll walk you through the 5 most significant, scientifically documented benefits of taking 2 cloves daily after the age of 60, and then show you the exact methods for consuming them that maximize their bioavailability and fit naturally into your daily routine. Let's begin. What makes cloves biochemically extraordinary before we explore the benefits? It helps to understand what makes cloves so biochemically unusual. This will make every benefit that follows more meaningful. The clove is the dried flower bud of the tree Syzygium aromaticum, native to the Maluku Islands of Indonesia and now cultivated across South and Southeast Asia, Madagascar, and East Africa. What makes it remarkable is its extraordinary concentration of bioactive compounds. Packed into a structure smaller than your thumbnail. A single clove contains eugenol as its dominant phytochemical, comprising approximately 70–90% of its essential oil. Eugenol is a phenylpropanoid with anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, analgesic, antimicrobial, and neuroprotective properties documented extensively in laboratory and clinical research. It inhibits the COX-2 enzyme, the same target of many pharmaceutical anti-inflammatory drugs. At concentrations achievable through normal dietary consumption. Cloves also contain beta-caryophyllene, a sesquiterpene that activates CB2 cannabinoid receptors in the immune system to reduce inflammation without any psychoactive effect. They contain quercetin and K-empherol, flavonoids with potent antioxidant and anti-cancer properties. They provide meaningful amounts of vitamin K, manganese, vitamin C, and dietary fiber. Most notably for older adults, the ORAC score of cloves, the measure of antioxidant capacity per gram of food, is among the highest of any food ever measured. Ground cloves have an ORAC value of roughly 314,000 plus units per 100 grams. For comparison, blueberries, widely celebrated as a superfood, measure approximately 4,700 ORAC units per 100 grams. Cloves aren't marginally more antioxidant-rich than other foods, they're in a category of their own. 2 whole cloves contain roughly the antioxidant equivalent of a full cup of blueberries. In a package you can swallow in seconds. Benefit 1. Dramatic reduction in chronic inflammation. Inflammaging is the term researchers use to describe the chronic, low-grade systemic inflammation that rises progressively with age and underlies virtually every major disease of the second half of life. It isn't the acute inflammation of a cut finger or sprained ankle, which is protective and resolves quickly. It's a smoldering, persistent activation of the immune system that never fully turns off, slowly damaging blood vessels, neurons, joint tissue, and organ cells across decades. C-reactive protein is the primary blood marker used to measure systemic inflammation. In healthy young adults, CARP levels typically sit below 1 mgl. Studies show CARP rises consistently with age, with adults over 65 averaging significantly higher readings than younger adults. Elevated CARP is independently associated with increased risk of heart attack, stroke, cognitive decline, and all-cause mortality. Eugenol in cloves directly suppresses the NFB signaling pathway, the master switch of inflammatory gene expression in the human body. When NFB is activated, it turns on the genes that produce pro-inflammatory cytokines, including TNF-alpha, interleukin-1 beta, and interleukin-6, the very cytokines that drive inflammaging. A 2020 study published in Food and Chemical Toxicology found that eugenol administration produced significant dose-dependent suppression of NFB activation and measurable reductions in all 3 major inflammatory cytokines in inflammatory cell models. A clinical study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food found that clove extract supplementation over 8 weeks produced a statistically significant reduction in CARP levels in adults with metabolic syndrome. A cluster of conditions including abdominal obesity, elevated blood sugar, high triglycerides, and high blood pressure that's extraordinarily prevalent in adults over 60 and driven partly by chronic inflammation. The bottom line, 2 cloves daily provide a consistent gentle dose of eugenol and beta-caryophyllene that together suppress the NFB pathway and dampen the chronic inflammatory tone that accelerates disease and biological aging. This isn't dramatic pharmaceutical-level suppression, it's a steady daily reduction that compounds meaningfully over months and years. Benefit 2. Blood sugar regulation and insulin sensitivity. Type 2 diabetes affects roughly 29% of American adults over 65. Prediabetes, impaired fasting glucose and reduced insulin sensitivity affects a further 48% of this age group. Combined, that means roughly 3 out of every 4 Americans over 65 have some degree of blood sugar dysregulation. This isn't only a diabetes story, even non-diabetic blood sugar elevation in the upper normal range is associated with accelerated cognitive decline, cardiovascular damage, kidney stress, and increased cancer risk. Cloves have shown meaningful effects on glycemic control through several mechanisms. Eugenol enhances insulin signaling by improving the function of blood glucose transporters, the proteins that move glucose from the bloodstream into muscle and fat cells in response to insulin. When these transporters work more efficiently, blood glucose clears more rapidly after a meal. A randomized controlled trial published in the journal Nutrients assigned adults with type 2 diabetes to consume 1, 2, or 3 grams of clove powder daily for 30 days. All 3 groups showed significant reductions in fasting blood glucose, with the 2-gram group averaging reductions of roughly 10–21% versus baseline. Serum insulin levels also decreased, suggesting the pancreas was under less demand because peripheral glucose uptake had improved. The same study found meaningful reductions in total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, and triglycerides across all 3 groups, pointing to a broader cardiometabolic benefit beyond glycemic control alone. 2 whole cloves weigh approximately 1 gram. That means 2 whole cloves daily deliver a dose in the range studied for glycemic benefit, easy to consume, requiring no supplement, and delivered as food rather than pharmacology. Benefit 3. Liver protection and detoxification. Support. The liver is the body's primary detoxification organ. Every substance absorbed from the digestive tract, every medication, every environmental toxin, and every metabolic byproduct passes through the liver before entering systemic circulation. In a healthy young liver, this processing is efficient and robust. In an aging liver, processing capacity declines and oxidative stress accumulates. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, driven by insulin resistance and dietary fat accumulation, affects an estimated 30–40% of adults over 60 and is now the most common liver condition in the developed world. Eugenol has shown direct hepatoprotective effects across multiple lines of research. It activates NRF2, the master regulator of the body's endogenous antioxidant defense system, prompting the liver to produce more of its own protective enzymes, including glutathione, superoxide dismutase, and catalase. These enzymes neutralize the reactive oxygen species that accumulate in liver cells during toxin and waste processing, helping prevent the oxidative damage that accelerates liver aging and fat accumulation. A 2015 study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology found that eugenol administration significantly reduced elevations in ALT and AST, the markers that indicate liver cell damage, in models of chemically induced liver toxicity. The researchers noted that eugenol's hepatoprotective activity appeared to work through both direct antioxidant action and NRF2 pathway activation. Beta-caryophyllene, the secondary bioactive compound in cloves, has also shown significant anti-inflammatory effects specifically within liver tissue, reducing the hepatic inflammation that drives progression from simple fatty liver to the more serious non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, a condition associated with cirrhosis and liver failure. For adults over 60 taking multiple daily medications, each adding to the liver's metabolic processing load, the hepatoprotective and antioxidant support provided by cloves is particularly timely. Benefit 4. Digestive health and gut microbiome support. Digestive function reliably declines with age. Gastric acid secretion decreases, reducing the stomach's ability to break down proteins and absorb vitamin B12 and iron. Digestive enzyme production from the pancreas and small intestinal wall diminishes. Gut motility slows, contributing to the constipation that affects over 40% of adults over 65. And the diversity of the gut microbiome, the trillions of microorganisms that regulate immune function, mood, cognitive health, and metabolic efficiency, decreases with each decade of life. Cloves address several dimensions of digestive aging at once. As a carminative, cloves reduce intestinal gas formation and relieve the bloating, cramping, and discomfort of flatulence by relaxing gastrointestinal smooth muscle and promoting gas expulsion. Eugenol's antispasmodic properties calm the involuntary contractions of an irritated gut wall, making cloves one of the most well-documented remedies for digestive discomfort across nearly every traditional medicine system in the world. Eugenol also shows potent antimicrobial activity against pathogenic bacteria, including Helicobacter pylori, the bacterial strain that colonizes the gastric mucosa and is strongly associated with peptic ulcer disease and gastric cancer in older adults, as well as various Clostridium and Salmonella species. A 2020 review in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences confirmed that eugenol disrupts the cell membranes of pathogenic microorganisms while sparing beneficial bacterial species, a property called selective antimicrobial activity that's rare among natural compounds and pharmaceutical antibiotics alike. Research also suggests cloves stimulate secretion of digestive enzymes, including lipase, amylase, and protease, from pancreatic and intestinal cells, directly addressing the enzyme insufficiency that impairs nutrient absorption in older adults. Better enzyme activity means better nutrient extraction from food, reduced digestive discomfort, and more efficient caloric processing. For an older adult dealing with post-meal bloating, irregular bowel habits, or the vague digestive discomfort that so often accompanies age-related decline in gastrointestinal function. 2 cloves taken daily, particularly 15–20 minutes before a meal, can produce measurable improvements in digestive comfort within 1 to 2 weeks. Benefit 5. Bone density support and joint protection. Osteoporosis affects approximately 20% of women and 5% of men over 50 in the United States. Osteopenia, the precursor stage of reduced bone density, affects over 40% of postmenopausal women and a significant proportion of older men. Vertebral, hip, and wrist fractures from osteoporosis are among the most common causes of disability, loss of independence, and premature death in adults over 65. Cloves contain manganese in meaningful concentrations. 2 whole cloves provide roughly 30% of the recommended daily intake, making them one of the most concentrated dietary sources of this mineral in ordinary food. Manganese is an essential cofactor for manganese superoxide dismutase, a critical mitochondrial antioxidant, and it's directly required for synthesizing the connective tissue matrix that gives bone its structural integrity. Eugenol has shown direct effects on osteoblast activity, the bone-building cells responsible for laying down new bone matrix. A study published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences found that eugenol significantly stimulated osteoblast proliferation and differentiation while simultaneously suppressing osteoclast activity, the bone-resorbing process that drives progressive bone loss in osteoporosis. This dual effect, stimulating bone formation while suppressing bone breakdown, is conceptually similar to the mechanism targeted by prescription bisphosphonate drugs for osteoporosis, though through different molecular pathways. For joint health, the anti-inflammatory properties of eugenol and beta-caryophyllene are directly relevant to osteoarthritis, the most prevalent joint condition in adults over 60. Osteoarthritis is driven by inflammatory degradation of the cartilage matrix within joints. By suppressing the NFB-mediated inflammatory cascade that activates the matrix metalloproteinases responsible for cartilage breakdown, daily clove consumption may contribute to a lower inflammatory environment in joint tissue, potentially slowing cartilage degradation and easing the pain and stiffness that limit quality of life for many older adults. How to take cloves, 4 methods, ranked by bioavailability. Knowing the benefits is only half the equation. How you consume cloves determines how much eugenol and other bioactive compounds your body actually absorbs. Method 1. Whole cloves, chewed slowly. Take 2 whole dried cloves, place them in your mouth, and chew slowly for 1–2 minutes before swallowing. Chewing ruptures the clove's cellular structure and releases the essential oil directly into the oral mucosa, richly vascularized tissue that absorbs eugenol rapidly into the bloodstream without needing to pass through full digestion first. The taste is intensely aromatic, warm, and slightly numbing on the tongue due to eugenol's mild analgesic effect, an acquired preference for some. If the intensity is too strong initially, start with 1 clove and build to 2 over the first week. Best timing: first thing in the morning, 10–15 minutes before breakfast, on an empty stomach for maximum absorption. Method 2. Clove water. Place 2 whole cloves in about 250 ml of room temperature or slightly warm water. Let them soak overnight, for at least 8 hours. In the morning, remove the cloves and drink the water on an empty stomach. Alternatively, gently simmer the water with the cloves for 5 minutes, then cool and strain. Boiling can degrade heat-sensitive phenolic compounds. You can add fresh ginger, half a cinnamon stick, or a squeeze of lemon. Ginger contributes its own anti-inflammatory gingerols, cinnamon adds blood sugar regulating cinnamaldehyde, and lemon adds vitamin C, together making a powerful daily morning tonic. Method 3. Clove powder in food. Ground clove powder can be added to food and drinks with almost no disruption to your routine. About half a teaspoon of ground cloves delivers roughly the bioactive content of 2 to 3 whole cloves. Stir it into morning oatmeal with cinnamon and walnuts, blend it into a smoothie, Mix it into warm milk with turmeric and black pepper for a golden milk variant, or sprinkle it over roasted vegetables, soups, and stews. Note, high cooking temperatures above 180 C degrade eugenol, so add ground cloves to already cooked or warm dishes rather than during high heat cooking. Method 4. Clove tea. Lightly crush 2 whole cloves with the back of a spoon to crack them open. Place them in a cup and pour water heated to 85–90 C over them. Steep 5–7 minutes, strain and drink slowly, 15–20 minutes before a meal. This primes digestive enzyme secretion, calms gut-smooth muscle, and helps create an antimicrobial environment before food arrives. For older adults dealing with post-meal bloating or heaviness, this practice can bring noticeable improvement within 1 to 2 weeks of consistent use. Safety notes and precautions: 2 cloves daily is a safe food-level dose for most adults. That said, a few groups should check with their physician first. Blood thinners, eugenol has mild anticoagulant properties that may potentiate these medications. This doesn't mean cloves are off limits. Just make sure your physician knows you're consuming them regularly so coagulation markers can be monitored. Upcoming surgery: discontinue clove consumption at least 2 weeks before any surgical procedure, as eugenol's anticoagulant effect can increase bleeding risk. Existing liver disease: consult your physician first. Very high doses of eugenol, well above the 2-clove level, have shown hepatotoxic effects in animal studies at pharmacological doses. At the 2-clove level, the hepatoprotective research is reassuring, but physician guidance is appropriate for anyone with a pre-existing liver condition. Pregnancy: avoid cloves beyond normal culinary amounts. 2 cloves daily exceeds normal culinary use, and therapeutic dose safety in pregnancy hasn't been established. For healthy adults over 60 without these contraindications, 2 whole cloves a day is a food, not a drug, safe, evidence-supported, and part of traditional dietary practice in populations around the world for millennia. Closing. 2 cloves every day after 60. Chronic inflammation suppressed through eugenol's inhibition of the NFB pathway. Blood sugar moderated through improved GLUT transporter function and insulin sensitivity. Liver cells protected through NRF2 activation and antioxidant enzyme stimulation. Digestion supported through enzyme stimulation, carminative action, and selective antimicrobial protection. Bone and joint tissue reinforced through osteoblast stimulation, osteoclast suppression, and anti-inflammatory cartilage protection. 5 distinct biological systems, all supported by 2 small flower buds, backed by well over 1,000 scientific studies, available in every supermarket in the world, for a few cents a day. The aging body faces a specific, well-characterized set of challenges: inflammaging, glycemic dysregulation, declining detoxification capacity, digestive inefficiency, and bone and joint vulnerability. Long before pharmaceutical science had the tools to explain why it worked, traditional physicians across Asia were already prescribing this remedy. Modern biochemistry has simply given us the molecular language to explain what 2,000 years of clinical observation already knew. Start tomorrow morning. 2 cloves. Chew them slowly, soak them overnight, steep them in hot water, or stir them into your breakfast. Choose the method that fits your life. Be consistent. Give it 30 days, and pay attention to how you feel. The benefits aren't dramatic in a single day. They're the kind that build quietly, steadily, daily, the way all lasting health is built. I'm Dr. Zahir. Thank you for watching. If you found this valuable, share it with someone over 60 who deserves this information. Take care of that remarkable body of yours. It has carried you this far. Give it what it needs to carry you further.